Project NOAA, when it was launched in 2012, was the government's flagship program for disaster prevention and mitigation. More than a decade later, how has Project NOAA helped in providing warning systems, most especially in times of heavy rain and flooding? And joining us tonight is Project NOAA Executive Director Dr. Mahar Lagmay. Good evening and welcome to The Big Story, Mahar.
Hello, good evening, Ses. Good evening, Sean. Sino pa yung isa?
Pauline.
Pauline, hello,
Yeah.
good evening, everyone.
I caught your
Thanks for
interview with Gretchen Ho, and you mentioned that soon you will, the website will be providing live updates, real-time updates. Are you able to do that now?
Right now, there are near real-time information such as the satellite data. But I think I was referring to the impact-based forecasting system. We can predict a day in advance where it will flood. Large floods that can happen. The warning is about 1 day in advance. And we will add some more features to that impact-based forecasting system by adding near real-time satellite data.
So let's zoom in on Marikina. What is the forecast? What is your system telling you?
Well, I was talking to the meteorologist from the Institute of Environmental Science and Meteorology, and he said that severe weather conditions like this are really very hard to forecast. It is because it is the southwest monsoon season, and it gets enhanced, the rains get enhanced when there's a low pressure area or a typhoon nearby the country or in the north or in the east of Luzon. Karina already passed the Philippine area of responsibility. It's outside already, but there's a disturbance that suddenly formed in the east of Luzon, and that has been enhancing the rains in the south, in Metro Manila and in the west of Luzon, including parts of Palawan and Mindoro. The forecast this morning, which I actually posted in Facebook, we said that it was going to rain hard in Metro Manila. It depends on the shifting of the rain clouds and the moisture in the west of Luzon, and suddenly it appeared in the west of Manila Bay. So it came earlier. The forecast was really the rains was going to happen this evening. So it's still.
So that's why it's so unpredictable, and we can't really blame the DILG or local officials for or Pag-asa.
Really
You're right, Pawi.
It's really hard to predict according to the meteorologist faculty member of UP.
And that's what our own weatherman tells us also, that it's really unpredictable.
Yes, large-scale disturbances, convection are easier to or is easier to forecast. But this kind of a combination between the habagat rains and severe weather happening east of Luzon is I think harder to predict. Well, it's actually based on what the faculty member, the meteorologist that I talked to, or that I consulted.
How can we improve it, though? I mean, we can't be helpless.
Or are there new technologies?
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Since you launched, right?
That's the research that they're doing throughout the years. Actually, it's been a decade already. The researchers have been calibrating the satellite data, have been calibrating the forecast simulations, and I think they've come a long way. But it's not 100%. Before it was about 60 to 70%, and because of the calibration, they've increased it. And they find difficulty with this kind of severe weather.
So there's no tools yet. Kumbaga, human race hasn't come up with anything, any specific kind of satellite or radar to be able to detect kahit 2 hours in advance Because that's kind of the window, right?
Like, for instance, what happened today, right?
Uh-uh.
Students had to go home, classes were suspended noon. It created an even bigger problem.
I think the classes were suspended earlier because I saw the announcement this morning. So it was not afternoon. So the rains happened in the morning. The suspension was in the morning as well. I think late in the morning.
Okay.
But what's the window that we have now currently, sorry Pawi,
Yeah.
na parang how much lead time does technology allow us to be able to prepare? Kasi sometimes I see, expect this within 2 to 3 hours. That's the way the
All right.
rainfall advisories are released.
Yeah. When we're talking about floods, rain is different. Floods are different because it takes time for the water to pond and generate the flood. We have what we call as forecasts, and these forecasts are in advance, maybe a day or 2 days in advance, and that's based mainly on computer simulations. Now, we also have reference, or we can reference ground data such as sensors, rain gauges, as well as automated weather stations, and also satellite data, which provide near real-time data. When we look at this, we have what we call as nowcasts, and these nowcasts can predict the floods. As I said, the rain is different from the floods. So, if, for example, the rains happen in the mountains of Marikina, it will take several hours, maybe 3 to 6 hours before the floods rush in the low-lying areas of Marikina Valley. So that kind of prediction we can do. Project NOAA did that during the 2012 Habagat, 2013 Habagat, 2014 Habagat, during Ulysses, and last year as well, during Karina. Pag-asa does that as well. But in terms of the rain and the forecast a day in advance, sometimes the meteorologists, I think, experience difficulty.
Well, Mahar, what about, so you did mention ground data and satellite data, but in this article I read that UP NOAA also encourages users to send in their photos. Is that possible, sending photos of what they see on the ground in order to help your data and predicting the disasters and risks?
Yeah, we crowdsource data to be able to validate the flood hazard maps that we have created. And we've been doing this throughout the years for a decade already, and we've been validating the flood hazard maps. And the accuracy is quite high, even for flood simulations or hazard maps that we did a decade ago. Those crowdsourced data aren't really to improve the rainfall forecast. It's a way by which we can improve and validate the flood hazard maps that people can refer to find out whether their neighborhood is hazardous or not. And to find out also the places where it is safe to go to in case there's a severe weather event that is impacting the area.
And is funding a big factor when it comes to upscaling your data and the information for NOAA?
Of course, funding is very important. But I think the Philippines has been spending about 100 billion per year for disaster mitigation. And that's just one aspect of the 4 pillars of disaster response, or disaster efforts of the country. Because there's the response, there's the prevention and mitigation, there's the prevention part, and there's also the reconstruction and rehabilitation. Just for disaster mitigation alone, we are spending about 100 billion per year. So in terms of funding, I think it's available. We can do these things. We can improve research. We can improve the other non-structural means of solving our flood problem. So I really don't know exactly what your question is referring to. Is it the funding for NOAA, or is it the funding?
I guess, are you adequately funded? Because
we're being funded by government. In fact, Congress funded the building of a 10-story structure for the UP Resilience Institute and NOAA Center. We do get funding for UP. Part of it goes to the research that we're doing, but at the same time, we are augmenting it with projects coming from local government units, our funding coming from the private sector, as well as international funding outfits.
all right. Now, flooding seems to be getting worse every year. What can you pinpoint a single cause of this worsening floods, or is it a combination of many factors? Like, is it climate change?
Well,
Is it
climate
climate
science-
change?
Yes,
Poor
yeah.
infrastructure. I mean, government keeps spending on flood prevention projects, pero nandyan pa din.
And
So,
before you answer, Mahar, I'd like to add to Ces's question para isa na lang yung sagot. How has your flood hazard map changed since its launch? That was way back Pinoy
13
admin,
years.
ago. And nagbago ba based on yung mga data from your crowdsourcing and the validation? Is there a big shift in how these maps look like now in 2025?
Yeah, we keep on producing new scenarios for floods because of climate change. So whenever there's a local government unit who tries to get our help or request for our help, we simulate the floods that reflect scenarios of climate change. And going back to the question of Ces, she asked what kind of things that or flood simulations we are doing, or what's the cause of it. Climate scientists have been saying that the rains, the severe weather events, the typhoons, the cyclones will become more powerful and more frequent. That means that the rains will increase, the floods will, of course, become larger, there will be more widespread landslides, and if there are storm surges, it will become higher. All of these are being simulated by the UPRI NOAA Center. So if I were to pinpoint a single thing that that causes all of these things, all of this hardship for people in Metro Manila, I think it's global warming that causes the climate to change, and those that happened only once every 100 years, which was quite rare, happen now instead of once every 100 years, once every 10 years, or once every 15 years, or even more frequent than that.
I forgot to include trash, human, waste. Our contribution to this phenomenon of flooding.
Yes, of course, blocking the drainage would aggravate the problem. Putting concrete that reduces infiltration would also aggravate the problem. Cutting the trees in the forest also aggravates the problem. Climate change also aggravates the problem. It becomes more frequent, these floods, rains become more powerful. So there will be more suffering, and it's changing the manner by which we live. There are things that are natural, and add to that, there are anthropogenic activities that we are doing that complicate and aggravate our problem in the Philippines, which has already been there, and we're making it worse.
Well, Bahar, apart from climate change and human wastes, you also posted on social media actually that one of the reasons kung bakit binabaha yung mga kalye, in particular you encircled Commonwealth Avenue. You said daanan talaga siya ng tubig pero nilapatan ng kalye. You were even criticizing some posts. Bakit may malaking poste dyan? I mean, is it also bad urban planning on our part?
Yes. We made a study on the MMDA list of flood-prone areas.
Okay, yes.
And we found out that when we compared it with the hazard maps that we created or we generated, that all of these flood-prone areas are at the intersection of rivers, intersection of streets and rivers. And I think the reason why that happens is because the engineering design of those areas did not consider the rise, the
Saan ang
rise.
daanan ng
Well,
tubig?
yes,
Where the water would
yes.
pass?
It did not consider the swelling of the river. The drainage was not enough. Probably were we were supposed to put a bridge there. We did not recognize that that creek, maybe at sometimes they are dry, especially during summer. We did not recognize them as a critical area in which we are supposed to build a more robust structure, like a bridge, to get the motorists to be able to cross that intersection. We normally just put bridges in rivers that are permanent, but there are many creeks. I think in Tagalog they're called lagnas, Lagnas, and they're normally dry, but they're low-lying areas, natural pathways for water to flow. And because they are dry most of the time, we just build the structure with probably a small drainage. But when rains come like this one that we're experiencing, they swell and flood those intersections, the
What
street
about-
intersections and the rivers.
What about, we hear of, like Manggahan Floodway. Like by the name itself, it's obviously a daluyan ng tubig, but, ginawa siyang alternate route and then bigla na lang, may mga bahay na doon, may mga businesses na doon. How does that, and then yung mga, like Araneta Avenue, right? So we put up Skyway there, right? And they're supposed to fix the pumping. Like, pwede pa bang repasuhan yung mga ganyan, Mahar?
Actually, hindi one answer does not fit all situations, di ba? It's quite a difficult question to answer. Of course, when you constrict the path, the drainage, putting settlements there, the water cannot flow as much. And therefore, if, kumbaga parang na traffic, di ba? The water can't flow that fast, so it ponds at the back. No? And that ponding is called as a flood. If we constrict it with, let's say, piles, the footing of the skyway, then the river capacity will decrease and therefore cause further flooding. Again, we are doing some things that aggravate the problem. This is a natural phenomenon, flooding. The rains happen all the time. But we're aggravating the problem by clogging the drainage, reducing the infiltration, cutting down the trees, and so on.
I guess it's also because there's not much science-based studies done before all this infrastructure is built.
Actually,
Or
there
makinig
were a
sila
lot.
sa scientist, tignan yung NOAA map, yun lang.
Wait. There were a lot. But
There were a
it's
lot, but-
only- Okay, says it was only in 2012 that we invested in technology. And that technology is called LiDAR. Light detection and ranging that allowed us to image the landscape of the Philippines in high detail. And that was the detail that we needed to be able to create these flood scenarios. Now, when was Metro Manila built? I mean, it has been there for a long time. And the project NOAA, which was able to see all of these things, came only recently. But I think it's not yet too late. We can still do something about it, rectify the problem if we look at all of this research and integrate it into our plans. Well, the problem
But
is sometimes...
2012, that's so 13 years ago.
Yeah, but the Metro Manila has been here for how many decades already? Di
Maybe a
ba?
century.
So, and man has this propensity to live in hazardous areas. They live beside the river because there's a source of water. Now that we have these technologies, we can incorporate all of this new information into our plans in the manner by which we do
How
things.
is your map different from the DOST's hazard map? Is it
Well,
one?
remember that Project NOAA was a DOST activity. It was a DOST-funded program. maybe what you're referring to is the DNR map, the MGB map. It's different in terms of methodology because the methodology of the MGB maps of DNR are based on interviews and expert opinion. Our maps in NOAA are simulated using a detailed topography and using the knowledge on the physics of the flow of water. So we simulate it based on the historical rainfall of Pag-asa, a historical rainfall record of more than 30 years. And then we let it flow over that detailed topography to see where it floods and it does not flood. And on top of that, we validate it using the crowdsourced data that was
DNR.
asked earlier. That was asked earlier. Yes.
All right.
So there's a big difference between the methodologies in arriving at the two types of maps. Those are based on interviews, based on the historical record and expert opinion. The maps of NOAA are based on computer simulations, the physics. These are powerful computers, by the way, and the physics of the flow of water, and of course validated by people on the ground. And we've been doing that for so many years already, more than a decade already.
And this just in, actually, a red rainfall warning has already been raised in Metro Manila, which means there could be serious flooding, torrential rain, and unpassable roads and life-threatening landslides. So I guess they should also check Project NOAA to identify which areas. You can actually input your particular location. So.
While we were talking to Mahar, biglang
Oo nga,
tumunog
biglang.
yung
Did you hear
RMC.
also your own warning on your phone?
You know, the alert that you cannot silence was going off. Okay.
You're referring to the NDRC
Right,
emergency
right.
alert?
Yeah. In closing, Mahar, you said it's not too late. What message would you like to give government to listen more to scientists in planning? What is it?
Yeah.
Or to each one of us?
Yeah, I think it's best if there are new discoveries, there's new research, especially if there are findings that are relevant, to be able to adjust to the status quo by which we execute things, we do things. And when there are new information and new technologies that we can use, let's use it. Because if we don't, we get to live or stay in living with the past. So there are new ways by which to solve problems, and it's important to do research and science to understand the problem, because we cannot find the appropriate solution if we don't understand it. And science will get us there.
Thank you. That was Mahar Lagmay, Executive Director, Project NOAA.